I have a very dear friend. His name is Hilmi Dakak. He's a Palestinian. He's quite wealthy. I've known Hilmi for 35 years. He's been in my home in Portland, Oregon. I've been in his home. I know his whole extended family. He has a daughter, Olivia, who is the same age as my son. Olivia can speak a little German, I can, and we used to have secrets when she was a little girl. So I know this family very, very well, and I've been there many, many times when Hilmi has taken my family and I out to dinner. And when he does, we always go to the very, very best restaurant. And he puts on a real spread, and he always pays the bill. Well, I was beginning to learn about honor and shame, and I learned that when somebody gives you a gift, you must give a gift in return. So I got the idea I should invite Hilmi to dinner. So I walked into his office one day, and there were a variety of other people there, and I said, Hilmi, I would like to take you and your family to the American Colony Hotel in Jerusalem. Some of you know it. And this dinner is on me. Hilmi angrily turned on his heel and walked out of the room and slammed the door. And I looked at Olivia, and I said, oh my gosh, what did I do? And she said, Dick, stop and think. He's older than you are. If you go out to that restaurant, he knows everybody there. He knows the managers, the waiters, the cooks. He knows all the patrons, and they all know him. He is not about to be seen in public with you paying his bill. That would shame him in front of everybody he knows, and in no time at all, it would be all over the community. So I said, well, gosh, what do I do now? She said, he's going to show up at your house tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock and invite you to dinner, and if you don't go, this friendship's over. Sure enough, next morning, there comes Hilmi. He invites me to dinner, and everything's cool. Now, he has a younger nephew, Assad. I can invite Assad out and pay the bill anytime, because Assad is younger than I am. You understand? Age gives you honor. Let me tell you a couple more stories. My wife and I were living in Beit Jala, and I was doing research. And my wife was there doing volunteer work. And we had gotten to know a family down the block. And after some months, the family invited us to dinner at their home. And all of you that know Middle Eastern culture know that that's a real honor. But we were to show up at dinner at the appropriate hour, and thinking to be nice, we went down to the flower market at the corner and bought a bouquet of flowers. Came to the house, knocked on the front door, and the father opened. Father did not speak English. And I handed him the flowers. And he slammed the door in my face. And I looked at my wife. What do we do now? And I could hear all this angry shouting in the house. Pretty soon the older son opened the door. He did speak English, and he said to me, why have you insulted my father? And he closed the door again. I didn't know what to do. Pretty soon the door opened again, and here came the father. This is a Muslim family. And the father had in his hands his prayer beads. You often hear Westerners call those worry beads. They are prayer beads to a devout Muslim. And he handed me those prayer beads as a gift. Now, being an American, Vern, what did I say? Oops. I saw the older son roll his eyes and go, oh, man. We got in and we had dinner, but we were never invited back to that house. Now, in order to understand what had happened, I need to tell you about the role women play in this game. I discovered in Beit Jala, and you can see evidence of this in ancient texts too. The people in Beit Jala believe that all women are naturally born with a gene inside them that makes them wise. Wisdom is the quintessential feminine virtue. What anthropologists will tell you is that while women don't play this game of challenge and response out in public, what they do is they keep score. They watch you like a hawk. Because if you mess it up in public, not only do you lose honor, every member of your extended family loses honor. Believe me, the whole village will know in a short time. So what they will do, when you get home, you will catch hell. They won't correct you in public, but they will when you get home. I've experienced this, believe me. In fact, Olivia thinks I'm extraordinarily stupid. I mean, anybody raised in a Western culture is not going to know how to play the subtleties of this game very well. She is constantly trying to explain it to me. Actually, because children in a traditional village live entirely in the women's quarters, the women and the sisters and the mothers teach little boys how to do this. And they will correct them. And they'll even correct the old man when he gets home if he does it incorrectly. So women play what anthropologists call the shame role. Do not assume that is negative. What it means is they have a finely tuned sense of shame. They know exactly what to do and how to do it. And hence they become the mentor. When the wisdom of God is being talked about in the book of Proverbs, what gender is being used? The wisdom of God is personified as a woman. In the famous Gilgamesh epic, when Gilgamesh seeks wisdom before he goes on his great journey in search of immortality, who does he go ask? His mother. All along the journey, who does he consult with? Women. Who do I consult with? Olivia. So I asked Olivia what had happened in this thing. She said, Dick, think about it. He invited you to dinner, that's a compliment. You come, that's the return of the compliment. He opened the door, what's the first thing you did? Is you handed him a gift. He is not about to let you in his house until he gives you a gift in equal measure. And of course, then Olivia turned to me and said, and I suppose you said thank you. I did, and by that, they assumed I wanted to end the interaction. They thought I was in effect saying, I don't want to come to dinner.
The entire New Testament, only one person ever thanks Jesus, and he wasn't even considered Israelite. Let's read carefully one little problematic section of the gospel story. Here. Look carefully at the words. You don't have to know Greek to see things are problematic, especially when I include how the New American Bible Revised Edition translates this passage. See the difference at the end? To give glory to God or to give thanks to God? The green is incorrect. The NABRE has a disastrous translation of Luke chapter 17, verse 18. The Lucan Jesus was not asking, has none but this foreigner returned to give thanks to God? Again, the old maxim is proven true. Every translator is a traitor. In their desire to make the text say, Jesus is God! Jesus is God! Jesus is God! The NABRE translators put words into the Lucan Jesus' mouth that don't match the Greek text. It might be shocking to understand that the Samaritan in this story, or any other person from any ancient circum-Mediterranean people, including Israelites, would never say thank you to God. While biblical people were very much indebted to God and grateful to God, to say thank you to God was equivalent to suicide. Instead, the Samaritan thanks Jesus, but he glorifies or honors God. The fourth gospel informs us of the important cultural background. Judeans, never properly translated Jews, have no dealings with Samaritans. The late scholar John Pilch says that this Samaritan was probably in the wrong place at the right time. Through Jesus' brokerage or mediation, he receives healing along with the 9 Israelites. This Samaritan is quite aware that he has a snowball's chance in hell of ever seeing Jesus again. This explains why he gave thanks to Jesus.
Writing to the Thessalonians, Paul begins by admitting how indebted he is to God for their positive response to his preaching. Traditionally, this section of Paul's letter is identified as a thanksgiving, but it would be quite preferable to drop that word, because in the Mediterranean world, you don't say thank you. To say thank you, it says, so long, it's been good to know you, get the hell out of my life, I don't need you anymore. You can never say that in a traditional culture. Look in the newest Greek dictionaries, it'll tell you, it's a sense of, I owe you big time. I'm indebted to you. When I was in the Philippines, they used to laugh because every time they said thank you, they would laugh. Why? You know, we occupied them for 50 years and we taught them to say thank you. They don't say thank you in the Philippines. They have what is known as utang na loob. I owe you. I'm in your debt. Which is why corruption is so great. Because who can do you favors? The politicians. You have to repay them. I owe you. You're never sure you repaid them enough. So you keep repaying them and they can do you more favors, and that's why corruption grows. It's typical in many cultures of the world. In India, they don't even have, parts of India, they don't even have a word for thank you. If I get something, I deserved it. That's why I got it. So you'll notice that in the Gospels, the Samaritan leper cleansed by Jesus is the only one to return and thank him. I was in the wrong place at the right time, right place at the wrong time. I have a snowball's chance in hell of ever meeting this guy again. Thank you. So long, it's been good to know you. Lucky me. The other 9 would not dare say thank you because they were fellow Israelites. That could come back next week, same problem, and they'd have to come and see him. So the culturally appropriate understanding of the word translated as thank you is much obliged, or I'm in your debt. And Paul, in his letters, owes his success to God, to whom he is now indebted. He would never want to end that relationship.
In the ancient Mediterranean world of the Bible, thanks means we're donezo. Why would anyone want to say, we're donezo, God? So instead, the Samaritan praises God, the source of his healing, and returns to thank Jesus, something he would never do to God. Reading the text honestly, we see that Jesus is silent about the Samaritan's gratitude, or it being missing in the 9. Western homilists exploring this story are fond of focusing on gratitude or its lack. In doing so, they miss the point.
And he handed me those prayer beads as a gift. Now, being an American, Vern, what did I say? Oops. I saw the older son roll his eyes and go, oh, man. We got in and we had dinner, but we were never invited back to that house.
Anthropologists inform us that mainstream United States people, the most individualistic culture ever, are very different than Jesus and his contemporaries. At every turn in our social lives, we work to keep social obligations at a minimum. Our American thank you does not include or imply any obligation of social reciprocation, even though it does indeed express gratitude. As far as personal obligations to others go, we American individualists work very hard to avoid them. We avoid getting involved, but even when we do, we would rather do it anonymously, like pooling donations and care for disaster relief. In corporate America, this is seen also in the anonymity and obligation freedom of secret Santas, birthdays, and wedding showers. Both Western donors and Western recipients remain free of excessive obligations. While a Western person hurting may gratefully receive benefits from some charity organization, they experience no obligations to the charity or its contributors. How different that is from circum-Mediterranean cultures, like the biblical world. This makes United States people and Christians here an anomaly among world cultures. For beyond the United States, almost everywhere else in the world, people see human relations devoid of obligation as being insignificant. For most people on earth today, including our New Testament ancestors in the faith 2,000 years ago, it would be nonsense to give anonymously. It would be meaningless. A gift without inconveniencing the donor holds little to no significance for the recipient. And for the biblical world, folks, there is no love without group love and ongoing, lifelong reciprocal giving.
I've had other experiences like that. I was in a Turkish home. We had been invited to a Turkish home for tea in the afternoon. My wife and I we'd had a lunch late and we weren't real hungry. And we didn't even think about the fact that this was going to be high tea, which, as many of you know, given the British influence there, can be a real meal. But at any rate, we came to the house at 4 o'clock, and the father opened the door and he had a tray of sweets. And he offered me one to eat. I wasn't hungry, so what did I say? No, thank you. They were livid. They were furious. The Turks have a custom. It's a great custom. You come to their house and they'll offer you something sweet to eat. And the idea is we eat sweet things and we'll talk sweetly with each other. By refusing it, they assumed I'd come in hostility. And besides, I said thank you. No, but thank you. You understand the difficulty.